One of the reasons why you should start composing using only free samples and plugins is that you can build your knowledge around these tools that are free and they come with your DAW, with any DAW. So, for example, I'm using Logic. In the past, I used to be a Pro Tools user, a hardcore, die-hard Pro Tools user, and I was using pretty much just any free sounds that came with Pro Tools, and that's how I got into music licensing, and that's how I got started doing royalty-free music and start selling music like that online. Now, here I'm using Logic. I have switched to Logic for a couple of years now, and I still teach my students to use only free plugins. Everything I cover in my courses, any YouTube videos that you see me doing here on this channel is all with free plugins, with free samples. And yes, I've been downloading some more samples lately if you've been following me. These free samples are top shelf quality samples. Some of them are part of the paid samples that they sell, and they just have given you like a small selection so you can test them out. And the quality is really good. The quality is really proper quality. Now the only disclaimer here, back in the day, if you see one of my old videos when I was doing Pro Tools, when I was using Pro Tools, I was using some other plugins like compressors and EQs and amp modules or anything that will emulate some kind of like a vintage plugin. They were from Waved mainly, and that's just because they give you a specific character when it comes down to compressors and or maybe like a console channel strip like the SSL. If you don't know what this is all audio geeky thing. This is just because my background is in audio engineering, and it was just fascinating for me to record my own music and be able to use an SSL model on one of my tracks. Now, but that's back in the day. Now I just use everything, compressors, EQs, and everything that comes with Logic or any other free plugins that I might be able to get online. And the reason why is because I want to prove a point that you can actually make music and of a very high quality using only free stuff. And like I mentioned before, I'm not a freeloader by any means. Well, I'm just trying to educate you and newcomers that you don't need to wait until you invest a lot of money on plugins. You don't need to wait until you invest 200, 300 quid on a sample library. It does help, but it helps more when the tools that you already have, that you already own, you learn how to use them. Put in the homework, really practice, especially when it comes down to sample libraries, for example, for orchestral music and cinematic music. Now, lately I've been downloading a lot of free samples from different brands, and I've been composing music tracks only using these samples, meaning that if I download a sample from Project Sam's, the free orchestra, I compose a track fully and completely just with that free sample. I'm not even using anything else outside of that library, just because I set myself limitations and I want to prove a point, I guess, as well. And I like to work with limitations and say I only have this sample library, which is free, and that's all I'm going to use. I'm not going to use anything from Logic. I'm just going to use that, if that makes any sense. I downloaded as well from Spitfires Labs, their sample libraries. Amazing stuff, amazing sounding libraries. And I did the same thing. I composed a track just using Labs from Spitfires Audio. And it's just using the little tools that we already have, tools that are free, and just put limitations around that. And that just is an exercise for us composers. For me, at least, it has really helped develop my skills, learn more, carry on in the learning process, carry on doing what I need to do in order to grow as a composer. And this is way before I invest money on different sound libraries and higher end plugins and whatnot. Okay, so today I'm doing a track, a very cinematic and orchestral track with the Sine player from Orchestra Tools, and it's just an amazing sound library that they have for free. It's called Layers, okay, and it's from Orchestra Tools. I downloaded this the other day. I believe it's quite heavy actually. It has around 17 gigabytes, I believe, of sounds. All of the sounds, they're really good. So I have my homework for today is to compose a music track using only the Layers sample libraries, nothing else. I'm not gonna be using nothing but what they have offered me for free. Now, to prove the point again that I'm doing, this is as an exercise. So I'm composing an orchestral track with a lot of strings. They're very sustained. And my homework here, or my challenge, is to make it as expressive as possible. I'm still on a loop, as you can see. And by the way, there's a lot of people out there or composers that they advise me, or friends, they advise me not to show stuff when it's not even ready, especially on this early stage. But you know how I am. I like to show you the very early stages of what I'm doing. I like to show you how it all begins, okay? This is just something that I did in the last hour or so before we had lunch here in the house. And I have a few violins, I have a few orchestral elements, and I just want to show you how it's sounding so far. And the challenge here, like I said, is they're very sustained notes. The strings are really good samples, but still I need to do some automation. I still need to mess around with the articulation, expression, and all of that when it comes down to the samples, to make it sound even more real. And I want to create this big kind of like breathing kind of vibe, and I want to play around a lot with the dynamics of the sound. So I'm just gonna play it to you very quickly so you can see what I mean, and I will dissect a little bit what's exactly what am I going for here, really. Okay, so this is what I have so far. It's looping, of course. This is just an idea, okay? This is just to get my feet wet, if you will, or just to test the library. And I've done a few, I needed to do a few automation things here and there with volume. I play a little bit around with the tempo as well, so meaning that the tempo speeds up a little bit and it slows down a little bit, because my challenge is that I want the strings to be I wouldn't say flat, because they're really good sounds already, but I want it to be like from a very slow or very small dynamic and volume and being growing. And I want to play around with that, and I want to be as expressive as possible with very minimal string section, and not do something like very fast arpeggios and our fast complicated strings programming. Because yes, it's easy to get away with that when you're doing some all different tricks when it comes down to arpeggios and things going in the background. I wanted this to be very minimal and very sustained, and play with the dynamics as much as possible, and almost like from a very quiet note all the way up. And that's my challenge. I could fail, but I'm trying, and I'm composing just using that. There's 3 or 4 different strings that are doing pretty much the same. They've been overdubbed, meaning that I don't copy paste. I play them, every single one of them, so they all start very they don't start exactly the same. This helps them sound even more human. Little mistakes here and there, and it's an exercise, a lot of homework, because you have to play around a lot with volumes, expressions, and whatnot to make the string sound as good as possible, and almost to make it sound as real as possible, as having a few strings players here in the room playing a very sustained note. I want the notes to be sustained. That's what I want. And I want them to be breathing. So I want them to be from a very low volume growing and then going down again. That's what I want. I don't want to do any tricks of like some fast passages of strings to get me distracted here, or try to I want to do a proper challenge, if you will, because it's very difficult when it comes down to writing strings. When there's a note that has been sustained and get that real dynamic of a real player. Yet I'm doing this with free samples, yes, from the internet that I have downloaded. And you know, I'll leave the link in the description. The track is not even ready. This is just 3-4 chords. I will definitely work on it, and that's my homework for today. You know, I really excited about doing more cinematic music. I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's a very successful audio jungle composer. Well, he's not on audio jungle, he's everywhere really now. And I haven't spoken to him for some time, and we spoke yesterday. And he sent me a track that he's working on. He's as well going through this cinematic composition fever, I guess. Amazing track. I wish I could share it with you here. I don't want to share it because it's still on the demo process, and I don't want to share somebody else's music anyways. It's still not out there. Amazing cinematic, epic track. Very romantic. Very, again, the same kind of vibe. Very dynamic. Starts very low, starts to grow. Very amazing music track. We were talking about that, about how composing cinematic music it's kind of a thing for us composers, especially if you come from a background like I am, you know, guitarist. I do a lot of indie rock and acoustic work, and this is like a breath of fresh air to just have a few sample libraries and really compose cinematic music, and getting some amazing feedback from some of you who've been watching my channel and watching my latest compositions of tension music as well. So I'm gonna be creating different, actually, like albums of cinematic music. Others will be tension and kind of like horror or crime orchestrate kind of theme. This one is a little bit more happy. I didn't want to do it in a minor key. It's a major key. It's a little bit more hopeful and more happy and more feel good kind of thing. And just working on that, really just start to take things a little bit more serious when it comes down to programming strings, and because it's a big challenge for us composers. And I want to do that and see how good can I come up with something, you know, and have like a proper orchestral album, and within that orchestral album have different genres like tension, horror, a little bit more optimistic, and but always focusing on the cinematic aspect of it. And hey, no guitars this time around, just all MIDI. My MIDI keyboard is getting a lot of love this last few days, but I've been practicing my guitar every now and then, but I need to go back to it. And I was thinking about doing a heavy metal kind of track yesterday, that I was having a very bad day, if you've been watching my videos. Thanks a lot for all the love and support actually with that video. I got a few messages, and I really appreciate it. Today I'm feeling much better. But that's the beauty of being a composer for media. You can just wear different hats. Today I'm cinematic, I'm Mr. Cinematic, Hans Zimmer's wannabe. Tomorrow I'm bloody Guns N' Roses, or I don't know, Metallica. And there's no end to it. There is no end to the creativity. So I'm really happy with this. I'm still in this mode of cinematic themes. Tomorrow is another day though. Tomorrow we can be doing something different, all just to keep the juices flowing and keep everything as fresh as possible. Anyways, I hope this video finds you well. Go and check out Layers sample library, link in the description. When I finish this track, I will share it with you. I want to develop it. Obviously this is just a loop, this is nothing. It's just an idea that I just went like blah on the project, and that's that, you know. Just hopefully that will get you inspired to do something as well. And yeah, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you're doing fantastic wherever you are. Thanks a lot for all the love and support. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And as always, rock and roll, and here's to your success.